Good afternoon, everyone. We will get started in just a second. I will just give people some time to actually arrive to today's webinar. And yeah, just maybe go grab some water or a tea, and we'll get started in just a second. Thank you so much for being on time. All right, if more people are joining in the next couple of minutes, then that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to get started because we only have 30 short minutes today. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Oriana. I'm a learning consultant here at Bailey and French. So I've got an occupational psychology background, and I'm working on kind of collaborating with our clients to design learning and development solutions. As you can see, you should be able to see my screen, you should be able to hear me okay, and you should also be able to use the chat function to interact with each other. So if I could just get you to write a quick little, maybe where you're joining from today, so I know this is all working okay, that would be fab. And obviously ask questions if you've got anything as we go along, and I will try to do my best to answer them. The purpose of today is really to provide you with a short introduction into what every single one of us can do to create a human experience in the workplace, to improve our self-awareness around strengths, and to also understand what we actually mean by human experience or humanizing the world of work. And hi everyone, perfect. We've got some people from London and Sussex and Brighton. That's fabulous. Just around, literally just around me. I'm also just in Brighton where the sun is shining at the moment and it's absolutely lovely weather. So I hope you've got a little bit of sun too. So this quote here, I wanted to start with this today because it's very obvious that there's a need to move towards more human experience focused organizations. On an organizational level, human-centric businesses are more likely to outperform competitors. And on an individual level, focused on human experience increases a lot of like productivity, well-being. I'll go into more research findings in just a second, but there's this big need to really move towards that human experience, and that's been going on for the last 3 or 4 years actually. And it's been becoming more and more of a trend. So that's why today is so important, and also just to maybe for you to gain some more skills into creating that human experience. Here at Bailey and French, we always start with a positive starter. Our workshops, also our internal meetings, we try to kind of reframe our mind and also give us a bit time to arrive in the workshop, in the meeting, or just the situation that we're in right now. So today I want to start with a positive starter that gets us thinking a little bit around human experience. So I know you can already use the chat. So if you want to put something in the chat, then please do. What do you think are things that make a workplace feel more human? Those can be little things like maybe just saying hello, when you come in. I know someone was saying that to me not too long ago, that they felt really, really seen almost by just their manager greeting them and saying bye to them when they're leaving. It could also be bigger things like maybe providing flexible benefits, but whatever pops in your mind. Alignment of professional goals with personal goals. Don't want to feel like my life journey separate from my professional journey. Yeah, I like that almost. I know there's different preferences that people have around integrating or separating kind of work and life. But I think with us working more in hybrid or remote environments and it definitely being that type of trend, it is more important to kind of find that passion in your work life as well. Yeah, being treated with respect, acknowledgement and check-ins. Yeah, that I think respect is a really, really big part, obviously, of being successful in your role. With having respect, you're going to be motivated to perform better. Same with acknowledgement or check-ins or praise, maybe even. So yeah, thank you so much. These were great. So to create that human experience, we can apply positive psychology by kind of focusing on what works well instead of the traditional deficit-based psychology approach. And that means that we kind of focus on positive psychology, people's well-being, strengths-based collaboration, emotional intelligence, to be better leaders and managers. But what's actually more important now is, and to kind of take a step back, I know we talked about what things make a workplace more human already, but what do we actually mean when we talk about a human experience? So what's kind of the definition? And I've been kind of doing some research for this. So what it means for the individual is that they're able to play to their individual strengths. They have a safe space to have a voice, so that form of respect that some of you mentioned just before. And also to have a feeling of belonging. So maybe that's really similar to that you feel like your life journey and your professional journey are somehow aligned. For teams, it then looks at having those connected, really diverse and collaborative teams. And within leadership and obviously the wider organization, we're then looking into having these purpose and values-driven organizations and leaders that are able to be their authentic selves, and actually lead those psychological safe spaces, those spaces where people feel like they have a voice, that it's safe to challenge. So when we are focusing on creating a workplace where we create a human experience, we are seeing on an individual level, we're seeing an increase in performance. We're seeing an increase in well-being. So people are actually reporting to be less burned out. There's a greater resilience, especially when it comes to change or any challenges in the workplace. And we're also seeing a higher confidence and self-esteem. People are more confident in the work they're actually doing, which obviously then influences their performance again as well. With teams, we are seeing that human experience pushes engagement and productivity. And within wider organizations, I know we looked into the quote or the stat at the very beginning of this workshop, but as an organizational impact, we are seeing lower staff turnover, most likely because people are feeling less burned out and having that better well-being. Same with reduction in absenteeism. We're also seeing an increase in sales, profit, and productivity. And obviously, overall, the organization is going to be able to be more agile towards change or anything coming its way. So actually, looking at those stats, it would be stupid to kind of disregard focusing on a human experience. But what I really want to do today is to think about what each and everyone can be doing to create that human experience, and to kind of give you like a little new skill that you can maybe apply after today to do your part and kind of humanize the world of work. And I want to focus on human strengths, and I want to dive deeper into human strengths, because this is such an easy way to kind of apply that, or apply that humanizing, or that to create that human experience. If that's on an individual level, or for our well-being, or for our teams, or for leading the organization, is kind of applicable to the whole employee life cycle. So I want you to think about these questions for a moment. Maybe choose one that you're just answering in the chat. So what things do you do well that you're very successful at every single time you do them? Or what activities do you naturally look forward to that really energize you? When do you feel in your element or in a state of flow? Like, when do you feel like you are focusing on a task and time is really, rushing by, like you're just in your element, like you don't really know what's happening around you? It can also be helpful to focus on what makes you unique. And I see that in a way of, like, for example, what would you want someone who doesn't know you yet to know about you? Think about like an elevator pitch or an interview, for example, where you want to come across really authentic, but like talk about obviously something that you're good at. So I think for me, I always quite naturally look forward to, at least at work, actually also outside of work, it's anything where I can get to collaborate with people. So if that's because I meet up with my co-workers to talk about a new project, and we're able to align ourselves and really see how we can bring ourselves in and how we can be our best within that project. Or if that's when I'm kind of meeting my friends, and we're just able to kind of exchange ideas, stories, new things that have been happening in our life, just kind of doing all that. So I guess that like collaboration, relationship building kind of activity is something that I very much look forward to. So we've got some responses in the chat as well. Connecting with new people. I seem to be able to make conversations with anyone. Problem solving. Yeah, those are really great. Data analysis. Yeah, you're definitely not like me. That's probably, that's probably sometimes the one part that I like the least. Although I then love coming up with insights and recommendations according to data. So yeah, perfect. The reasons why I wanted you to reflect on these questions is because the things that are energizing for us help us unpack our own individual strengths. So what strengths are underlying what we do well, or the activity in which we find flow. Strengths are really our motivators behind everything that we enjoy doing. And these could be different for each person, even though they might, people might enjoy baking, be really successful baking, be known in maybe their social circle to be a really great baker. But, it could be, or the reasons why you love baking could be because you love to be precise and kind of, measure every ingredient and put it in. It could be because you love being creative and you kind of just love to put things together and see what comes out at the end, or maybe you like decorate cakes really beautifully, or any of these types of things. It might also be because you love bringing people together, and you baking, then you can then invite all your friends over. So kind of the motivators behind the activities that you enjoy, that energize you, those are then your strengths. And that's how you're able to identify your strengths. But what are strengths exactly? So strengths are our well-used neural pathways that our brain uses as shortcuts to navigate the world that we live in. And how our strengths are developed over those experiences and the combination that we actually come to rely on are completely unique to each one of us. Strengths are mostly developed from birth to 17 years old, as our brain develops through our life experiences, challenges, and conversations. So obviously, as different as those experiences were, as different is the set of strengths that we then have now as well. So what are strengths? How can we actually identify what strengths are, or when we're using our strengths? I know I used energizing a lot already. So strengths are energizing. We really can use them tirelessly. And we can actually use them so tirelessly that we sometimes are overplaying our strengths a little bit. So if I'm really collaborative and really, for example, I might be so collaborative that I really want everyone's voice to be heard. But actually maybe that might not be the right thing in that moment to do. So then I'm really overplaying my strengths by trying to give everyone a voice and trying to collaborate with everyone, whereas maybe I should just make a decision by myself. Strengths are also authentic. They are really us at our best. They're unique, as I said before. They are created from 17 years of millions of different experiences. They're enduring. They last our lifetime. They're enjoyable. We experience happiness when we're using our strengths. So that then obviously goes hand in hand with being energizing. And they're easy to use. They're really us at our natural and confident way of being. So that's when, if you remember the stats that I was talking or presenting to you before, where it was saying that people are being more confident. That's also because if we're focusing on a human experience, and if we're focusing on people utilizing their strengths, we are obviously becoming more confident in what we're doing and in our everyday work. So just a quick little reminder, or just a quick little note on what strengths are not. Strengths are not skills. We can do a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that we enjoy them. Strengths are also not knowledge. So they're not learning information that is reliant on our memory. And they're also not things that we're good at but don't enjoy, or things that we are not good at but enjoy and find really energizing. So normally when we're using our strengths, this will be something that we are better at than other people. And I think maybe to give you an example, like if we talk about data analysis, this is something that I probably am quite good at, because I did study a bachelor's and a master's where I had to analyze a lot of data. However, maybe the thing itself is something that I've learned I know how to do. I might be able to do it better than anyone else, but actually I might not find this energizing. So actually this is not a strength. This is something that I've learned and it's a skill for me. I hope that just puts it a little bit into perspective. So what we do here at Belly French, and just to come back to the circle that I showed you in the very beginning, is obviously applying positive psychology to create that human experience. And that means that we focus on people's well-being, that, you know, strengths-based collaboration where everyone can be their best self in a team context, and building people's emotional intelligence to be better leaders and managers. Positive psychology, like I said before, focuses on what is right with people and how to use those insights and tools to help people not only cope, but actually thrive. So how can we actually keep our humans switched on? And how can we, you know, humanize the workplace? How can we apply that newfound knowledge on our strengths? So we focus on obviously human strengths at the center of everything that we do here. And like I said before, you can really apply that knowledge of strengths at every single point of the employee life cycle. If that's when you're looking for a new job, or even when you're interviewing, if you're the interviewer or the interviewee, that knowledge is going to be really, really beneficial for you. But obviously also in learning and development, or even when you're then offboarding. For you, as a like tip, start reflecting on your own strengths further after today. When do you feel energized? What comes easy and natural to you? These sorts of questions. For well-being, we're then applying PERMA in the workplace and really focusing on creating inclusive spaces. So what you can do is really help create an environment where everyone feels safe to experiment with bringing their own strengths to work. For strengths-based collaboration, we focus on finding that flow that I was talking about as a team. You can really start spotting strengths in others and actually tell them. So after having that knowledge about yourself and when you're using your strengths, there's little clues that you can see in others when they are using their strengths. So I don't know if anyone potentially has an idea of what those little clues could be, or if you've ever seen anyone really passionate about something. What was the one thing that you noticed about that person? So maybe the person was laughing more. Maybe the person was maybe speaking faster. Yeah, they get excited. Exactly. Maybe they're using, you know, richer descriptions, more expressive. Um, they're smiling more. I think one thing for me is definitely that people's eyes start lighting up. Like you can really see it that they're super passionate about something. And they're also, in general, just becoming more confident in their posture. Maybe using gestures more. These sorts of things. So when you're seeing those little clues, that's when you know someone is using their strengths. So obviously what you can do after today is not only actually maybe spot strengths in others, but also ask others to spot strengths in you if you're unsure of what your strengths are, and how you can bring them more into your everyday life. And like I said before, this is just important to embrace that human experience in the workplace. And then you can use that knowledge when you're going into, you know, a new project, when you're collaborating with others, and you can really use that knowledge to then find flow as a team. And the last point really is for emotional intelligence here at Bailey and French, we focus on that human-centered form of leadership. And for you, that would be to give yourself permission to nurture strengths in others and actually role model that strengths approach. I think as well, what I want to say here is that emotional intelligence is really important for kind of everyone. When we're talking about leadership, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're in a manager position. It could just mean that you're almost, role modeling, you're teaching other people something, which obviously you can now do with kind of, telling people about how we can reflect on what strengths are and how we can also spot strengths in others. So just because we're coming to an end, maybe make an action commitment. So what is the one thing that you can do now to utilize your strengths more, and actually then obviously humanize the workplace? And it can literally be a very small thing, like next time I need to analyze some data, I'm going to go to maybe the person who gets really energized by that. But actually, I will also take something off that person that maybe I can take off and I will enjoy more because I will be able to utilize my strengths then. Yeah, check in on people, see they're okay. Great. Recognize when people are demonstrating interest and passion and pass opportunities to them. Yeah, that's fabulous. And actually by sharing these commitments or your objectives, you are much more likely to actually put them into practice. I think it goes up by like 80% as soon as you tell someone your action commitment, for you to actually be able to yeah, like I said, put it into practice. So that's incredible, and thank you so much for sharing. Just because we have about 3 minutes left of today, we have some free resources obviously on our website. There's also some great books that you can read if you are more interested in kind of creating that human experience and also putting your strengths to work. There's Flourish by Martin Seligman, which is kind of the book about positive psychology. And there's also that new book by Daniel Goleman, which is around flow and emotional intelligence, which is just a great reminder really from his original book. And obviously we've got loads and loads of or more resources on our LinkedIn, more webinars and workshops to come that are free to access for everyone. So yeah, feel free to follow us there. And if you've got any more questions, I will be hanging on a little bit. Otherwise, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us today.